The power of a dream. What makes man tick? Many have sought the answer, but few realize the power while they search for meaning. Overwhelmed with problems, people have many. To make it through, they try, but undirected they fail. Sadness, frustration, depression, all come to visit, but of one with gas they have surpassed. To make one surpass is the power of dreams. To climb steep mountains is the power of dreams. The mystery of the age has been discovered. For all that seek this power, all things start with a dream. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Poetic Philosophy number 16. And as you realize from the opening poem, I'm going to be talking about dreams in this podcast. And what do you dream? What do you desire? Desire is just another word for dream. We all have our dreams. And what inspired me to do a show on dream is this next clip that I was listening to the Rush Limbaugh show, and they were talking about socialism and communism, and what this next clip, what I say in this next clip, that's what inspired this. So, without hesitation, here is the clip. This is April, beginning of April 2nd. I'm driving in my car and recording this because I get inspirations when I'm driving. And I was just listening to the Rush Limbaugh show, and they were saying that the young people don't really have an example of what communism is. The older people do, because we grew up with Russia when Russia was actually a power. Russia is not a power anymore. And they point to California. But I'm saying we have just lived through an example of communism. And that was called the year of 2020. Because in 2020, people were confined to their homes. They were forced to be in their homes in many places. They were afraid of their neighbors because their neighbors could kill them. Could give them the virus, and the virus would kill them. People, and this continues throughout this year, people are afraid to take off the mask because they think that if they take off the mask, that they will get COVID and that will kill them. And also in 2020, you could not go where you wanted to. You had to go where the state told you to go. You had to shop where the state told you to shop, because many stores were closed. Only certain stores were closed, and only certain restaurants were open. And gas stations and service stations, they could remain open because of gas. But that is the reality of communism. Because in a communist state, you don't have the choice to do what you want to do. And that's what we lived through. So remember your experience in 2020. Also, remember the violence in 2020 when you tried to do what you wanted to do, but, they forced you not to. Think about the news that we heard in 2020 from both 24-hour news stations. Yes, they're both guilty of doing fake news. This is the reality of 2020. This is the reality of communism. And the other thing, too, within that year, we all looked for a safe space where we could be. But in a communist state, that becomes harder. And that would even become harder now because of the technology we have. Because the technology we have, we don't control. Big business, which is linked to big government, controls. So that's what would happen. And also in communism, you think the small guy will be rich because they're going to be taken away from the rich and give to the poor. That never happens in a communist state. The government takes from the rich and gives to the rich, to their rich, to those people that are government friendly. So, just some things to think about as far as an example of communism. Yes, that is how the government, big government, the lefties, and even some of the righties, and big tech, this is how they're selling or trying to sell communism and socialism to you. They're trying to sell you through your desires. All you have to do is just read Atlas Shrugged. It's an awesome book. Read Atlas Shrugged. And what do most people desire? We just desire good pay, good work, fairness, everyone paying their fair share. I'm probably going to be doing another show on fair share afterwards at some point. But is that all you desire or dream of? If the government, through big business or big tech, controls what you say and hear, can you go and develop your gift? Think about this. There are, and I don't know what the exact number is, I'm just using the last election we had in 2020, but there are roughly over 100 million people in this country alone. Do you think the government can put 100% of their time on focusing on what your gift is, trying to make you happy? I mean, it's 100 million people, and the government, even though the government's big, it's still kind of small. It's just not possible. The government cannot know what you're thinking. Even if they use the tech that the the tools that big tech uses. There is no way that they can know what you're thinking at every single moment of the day. They can only guess at generally. They can just drop you in a general bucket, so to speak. And just think everybody in that bucket is the same, even though we know that they're not. We know that they're not. And I believe that only the individual can truly know, with the help of the support structure of family, friends, and coworkers, how to see and develop their gifts. Because our intuitions and our feelings in a particular moment guide us. And those feelings and intuitions come from a higher source. Imagine you're playing a game, whether the game is online or a card game like Yu-Gi-Oh! I love Yu-Gi-Oh! Or even a board game. Who knows better at that point, excuse me, at that point how to move forward? Who knows at that point? Because we know at that point it's the specific decisions of everyone involved in that particular game that know what is the best way to move, that what options you truly have. I mean, we know we know the difference. How can I say this? Let me pause this 1 second. There is a difference between local and national. And those people closer to you locally are more likely to help you better, meaning your local town, city, or state. The government can only focus on helping particular states efficiently, because that's, we try and rely on the government to do more and more and more for us, but the more the government does for us, the less it does efficiently, and happier we are. In this next clip, it's entitled Cancel Culture, and this is also what happens when you try and control things on a national, bigger scale. People and businesses get canceled, and we don't know the full reasons why. I mean, they're trying to develop something that's called an ESG score now. I can see how that can be helpful, but I can also see how that can hurt us. But here is the next clip. It's entitled Cancel Culture. Cancel culture. Freedom to speak. Freedom to create. Cancel out freedom. We live in a time where Creative Commons has a new meaning. A time of new creation. People who create their own reality consciously. Two worlds collide. One who can't and one who can. One who teaches, the other to do. Is where we're going, to create a new world, a new time, a time poured forth for thirsty souls. Yeah, actually, listening to that clip, I don't know why I entitled that one Cancel Culture. Happens with poets sometimes. But that is the difference. There are just basically two different types of people. those who do and those who do not. And the main difference between those two different people is those who do, they do make a lot of mistakes. They're not afraid to make mistakes. Just check out my show on fear. They're not afraid to make a whole lot of mistakes. But those who don't, they're afraid of making mistakes. Maybe because they've made mistakes before and it hurt them, and they just didn't have the support structure or the knowledge or the experience on how to overcome that fear and how to overcome that failure. And that's what failure teaches us. It can't let us. We gotta continue to move forward. And that's how we develop our gifts. Because first of all, some people don't know what their gifts are. They can't see the gifts, so they need other people around them to see what their gifts are, to focus their gifts are, and say, oh, you're pretty good at this. Oh, you're good at that. You may not be too good at this, but you're good at that. You know what I mean? So we need those surrounding people, but we need to be constantly moving forward. We constantly need to, going to get our dreams. I phrased it that particular way because the next clip fits so well with this podcast and accomplishing our dreams. And I would suggest you find a copy of this poem somewhere online. It's a poem that is Anonymous wrote it. Anonymous writes a lot of poems. But yeah, no, it's an old poem that's been around since the 19th century, and we're 21st century, and it's still relevant today. So listen to this poem. You can even click out this poem if you like how I render it, or just find a copy of this poem online somewhere so you can see it and actually record that in your own voice and listen to your own voice, reading that go-getter poem. That could help you with the energy and the motivation to continue to move forward, because that's what we need to do. We need to move forward. We can't move backwards. Socialism and communism is a way of moving backwards. So let's pick up the energy a bit and just become a go-getter. The go-getter. The go-getter goes till he gets what he goes for. The go-getter works till he reaps what he sows for. He fixes a goal and resolves when he sets it. The way to the prize is to go till he gets it. The country is crowded with weakling diminishers and plastered with want ads for resolute finishers. It's easy enough to start things with a roar, but hard to keep pulling when your biceps are sore. There's many an auto equipped with a starter that starts up the hill like the charge of a Tartar. But soon it is found it also has a stopper. The auto we need is the one with a topper. The highway of life has 100 who peter, to one who will stick and become a repeater. To steer and to dreamer the world is a debtor, but passes its handsome gift to the getter. The go-getter goes till he gets what he goes for. The go-getter works till he reaps what he sows for. He fixes a goal and resolves when he sets it. The way to the prize is to go till he gets it. Do you know what one thing that salesmen usually forget to do or don't do? I was reading a sales, I read sales books, I read business books, I read spiritual books, I listen to all sorts of stuff. But a lot of times they don't ask for the sale. if you like this poetry that I do in these shows, my philosophy in life, my learning. I have a variety of different books over at Amazon.com. I have one of those books that is highlighted, that is linked to in the description of this show. It's Pocket Poetry for the Mystic, and Pocket Poetry. It's a small book that's supposed to fit inside your pocket, because I think poetry should be that accessible. If you need guidance, inspiration, you should be able to pull out a pocket full of poetry and be inspired. And this particular book, it's the Pocket Poetry for the Mystic. And a mystic is one who looks for union with the divine, union with God, union with the divine. And of course, if we're seeking union with the divine and God, we're also seeking union with each other, because we are all children of the divine. So anyways, and that is also something, this next poem that's coming up, these next two poems, Awakening from a Dream and Awakening from a Dream and Dream of Soul. Awakening from a Dream talks about decision. I was inspired by a Robert Frost poem. It's probably the most famous Robert Frost poem there is, The Road Not Taken. But I took my own path with this poem. So, but they both talk about the soul, and I believe this is one of the main reasons why we are here. Because these bodies that we inhabit, these are not the real us. The real us is the animating force within the body, the soul. And it's kind of like that movie. I can't think of that movie where they would go into a avatar to explore a particular planet. Well, in a sense, the soul is like that. Our essence goes into these earthly bodies, and we explore this planet called Earth. And we have experiences on there, learning and growing and all that stuff. So these next two poems are along those lines, and I hope you can find some inspiration from them. Awakening from a Dream. I came upon two roads. One I cannot see beyond the bend. The other is overgrown with trees and brush. Which shall I choose? Where will it go? What lies beneath life, or what does my future hold? Two questions seem the same, but as different as Darth Vader and the unicorn. Two sides of life, one our heritage, one our fate. Each step we take, as our path envelops us, we're truly on one, but think we're on the other. When waking from a dream, all seems foggy and unreal.
Seize the day. Gather ye rosebuds while ye may. Why does the writer use these lines?
Because he's in a hurry.
No.
Ding!
Thanks for playing anyway. Because we are food for worms, lads. Because believe it or not, each and every one of us in this room is one day going to stop breathing, turn cold, and die.
The dream of soul. It is beyond language. It is beyond words. It is not the song. It is underneath all these. the seed of life, that universal knowledge, the fountain our life's built upon, knows all life's rhythms. The song sung by all in the darkness of matter teaches us the dance of life within the dream of soul. Within that knowledge, we become who we dream we are. We dance life's dance within the dream of soul. So, how did you like that transition between the Robin Williams clip and the Dream of Soul? I could not have. I'm using Audacity, so trying to line the clips up is just like that was good. I do miss Cast Blaster when I used to do podcasting, from 2004 to 2009. Sometime within that, there was a product called Cast Blaster, and that was probably the best program to do a podcast. You had the buttons, you had the clips, you had it's like your own little mini radio station right on your laptop. Too bad Audacity couldn't, or someone through the open source project using Audacity code come up with something like that. I mean, Audacity does have a few cool things you can do with it, with the audio once it's in there. But it's just to be able to have like a something like that would be like fun. Pushing buttons and but I don't remember what the Dream of Soul was about, but anyways, if you like those poems, I'm gonna end this with another poem. It's entitled Dare to Dream, and I wrote this poem a long time ago in a galaxy far away. I think I was inspired by, I went to a dream weekend because I used to be an Amway distributor way back when, and I was inspired by a dream weekend with this poem, and it is in my book, My Soul's Journey. My Soul's Journey is not a pocket poetry book. It's a regular 6x9 book. And I just recently lowered the prices of all my books over there from $20 to $10. And I think they're live. It's Amazon. It's like when you make any changes in your file, you gotta wait like 72 hours for them to like check things out. I suppose it's good, but anyways, so I believe that's the that should be the prices over there on my books, $10 instead of $20. So go check them out over at Amazon.com. The link to Pocket Poetry for the Mystic is in the description of this podcast. So with that, I hope you had a good time here with this podcast. I hope you have found it inspirational, entertainment, and hope you learned a few things. And I hope it's a good 30 minutes of your life. And I thank you for listening. I thank you so much for listening. I thank you all for listening to this and all my podcasts and my video over at YouTube and BitChute. Anyways, thank you for listening all, and stay creative in the magic of life and enjoy life out there. Thank you for listening. Here is Dare to Dream. Dare to dream. I dare to dream, to venture high above sky, not of sugar plums, not of ice cream, but to what awaits among the stars and fly. To visit worlds new and old, I want to see that wonder. To be bold, I dream and ponder. I hear powerful thrusters. I feel the ship go towards sky. My heart flutters. I'm going beyond the stars. There must be more. I see much wonder. To be a bore, or dream and ponder.
Medicine, law, business, engineering, these are noble pursuits and necessary to sustain life. But poetry, beauty, romance, love, these are what we stay alive for.